What's good with you?
Everything is good with me, ladies and gentlemen. This is Coop from According to Hip Hop. We have the one and only legendary Hit Boy here. What is good with you, my G?
Salute, man. What's good with you, bro?
No, man, I salute you. I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for all the love and support that you've been showing to us and to According to Hip Hop and me and Mike B. The way that you've been impacting the culture as a whole lately has been phenomenal. I definitely want to talk to you about that during the course of this interview. So just salute and shout out to you. I want to get into your new project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Respect, man. For real.
No, nothing but love and respect. Now, you and me had a little background conversation yesterday. You know, I didn't live too far where you're from. I used to live in Corona. I want to talk about the IE right quick and where you're from.
Yeah. Yo, how did you feel when you first heard the IE weather line on KD1?
That's exactly where I'm going. When he said hit, how's that IE weather? I'm like, oh, I was talking, you know, the lady I was with at the time, I was telling her, I was like, yo, I said, that's Inland Empire. I was like, that's where I used to live when I was out in Cali. I was like, I used to live in Corona. And so as soon as he said that, I did a quick search on you. I'm like, oh, he's from Fontana. I'm like, that's about 30 minutes north. Correct?
Exactly.
If memory serves, about 30 minutes.
Yeah. 30, 45, just depends on traffic.
Depends on traffic, right. So I used to live off Via Pacifica and Ontario Boulevard. So I could back way all the way up to the Ontario Mills Mall, which puts me kind of like right next to the city. So I'm familiar with
my mom lived right next to Victoria Gardens.
Yeah, know exactly where that is. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about is, you know, from my time out there, I recorded my first album when I was actually out in Cali. I want you to kind of like talk about the scene that's right outside of LA where you are and how that kind of influenced you stylistically and why you carry the moniker Tony Fontana.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, man, moving to the IE was crazy because I moved out there at 13. I stayed in Pasadena for most of my life till I was 13. Then I moved to the IE. Stayed there till I was 19. Then I got the opportunity to move to Atlanta. But just being in the IE, moving around, that's where I actually met the kid who had his setup to make music. I was like 15 at the time. He had the, you know, Acid Pro, FL Studio, everything, all the tools that you could make a bedroom album with, you know what I mean? And I just like kind of took that on and kept moving, met some other people out there. And it's just like, you know, it's a lot of space, so you can just do your thing. It's not as crowded as the city, so it's a lot more time to sit and just think. So I was able to really put a lot into my craft, and that's something I definitely appreciate about, you know, coming from the IE.
No, it gave me space to write. I wanted to talk about that. So you have like your literal city on your back, but you also talked about growing up in Pasadena. Now, I've joked with people, Pasadena is what made me move out to Cali, but that's where the more well-known and affluent Blacks oftentimes in Southern California live. And you happen to be the nephew of one of the members of the R&B group Troop, correct?
Sir, yeah, my Uncle Rodney. Yes, sir.
Your Uncle Rodney. Now, you know, for a lot of us that are hip hop fans, one of the monikers about you has been like, well, we don't know if he's a hip hop producer. He seems sometimes like he's more of an R&B producer. Is that influence from your upbringing, being around your uncle's group when you were a child?
Yeah, I think it's like my melodic sense, you know what I mean? Like for me to be able to dig into that feeling, but I'm just a music lover, period. Like even though my uncle was in Troop and you know, they was heavy on the R&B, kind of had pop elements, he was riding around to NWA's second album. I was probably around 5 years old around that time. You know, that's when I start really having the ear to listen. I heard I just always heard the beats for some reason. Like I never really could. I would have to hear the song a bunch of times to start understanding the lyrics, but even as a kid, I felt and understood the beats somehow.
You know, one of the things that's come up recently about you and just your style of making beats is how, well, especially with these Nas projects that you've contributed to, it's been hard to kind of find what would be defined as your signature sound. How would you signify your signature sound? Like, what is it to you?
That's always a tough thing because I feel like I never had one, and that's what had me earlier in my career kind of feeling like, damn, like people aren't connecting with my brand as much as I feel like they should be because I'm not just in one lane. But now, in retrospect, it just gave me the opportunity to have longevity. You know what I mean? I'm able to go hop and do a Music Soul Child album and there's no uproar. You know what I mean? I'm able to go do a Nas album. I mean, I'm able to work with Don Toliver, Travis Scott, whoever it might be, just because it's just going to be a certain quality to the music. Even though you can't probably pinpoint what it is, I'm always just trying to like make something that's quality regardless.
I think this is one of those things that's actually helping you on the back end, is the fact that you don't necessarily have a signature sound. Now, I was listening to your album that's about to come out. Well, the tracks that you have available now, you have 4 tracks available on your Surf or Drown album that's out. And I was playing them consecutively last night. And the closest thing I could think of is that, well, how do you feel about DJ Quick? Because you got some bounce to you. And that I feel like Quick has. Is Quick one of your inspirations? He's the only producer that I could find where it's like I could hear stylistically some of his, effects maybe on your sound. So I just wanted to know if he's somebody that influenced your sound or your style growing up.
1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. He right up there at the top with Dre and Battle Cat for me. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when you come to the era I grew up in, like and what defined the sound of the West Coast, I feel like those is the top 3. You know what I mean? And they all kind of had their own styles. Like Quick, kind of had a jazziness to his vibe. You know what I mean? So I take from everybody. You know what I mean? That's what artists do. Like I try to learn and just study and get in the mind of greats. Period.
I want to just kind of briefly go back to your comeuppance and your breakthrough. How did you first meet Polo Da Don and end up being signed to Zone 4 imprint? That was the first imprint you were connected with, correct?
Exactly. I met Polo in 2006 on MySpace. Just being a kid. I used to put music. I used to put beats. I used to put whatever just like I was doing at the time up on my page, and more people started tapping in with me, different industry people, and I was just a hungry kid at that time. So I'm trying to link with whoever, and one day I literally just heard the song London Bridges by Fergie that Polo had produced. I didn't know who produced it, but I heard it on the radio and I was like, this beat is ridiculous. Like whoever did this, I got to find him. So I just went and sent him a friend request. I didn't think too much about it, didn't hit him up, nothing, didn't send him a message. Woke up the next day, he sent me a message. And he was like, I'm more than just a producer. I really, help and cultivate talent, and I could put you in some rooms to help you, get some opportunities. And man, we just built from there. And I was hitting this dude up every day to the point where he was like, bro, it's gonna happen. Just be patient, you know what I mean? But I was 18 at the time. So yeah, bro, it just worked out, man.
So your early days are actually with Polo. What did you learn from him as a producer and about the business in that time, being so young and coming all the way from Cali all the way to Atlanta and kind of being introduced to the game that way?
When I think about it, I think Polo gave me just like that sense of just like taking it all the way there, because that's probably another reason why people might not look at me as just a hip hop producer, like on a Premier or an Alchemist wave, because he was doing Pussycat Dolls, and I'm an 18-year-old kid watching this in real time. He making songs with Sierra, he making songs with the Black Eyed Peas, just so many people that was just on a big scale, like that had radio records, that had pop appeal. So I kind of just took that and got that bug. But I just take that and keep it genuine and pure to what it is I do. You know what I mean?
Well, I do want to talk about some of your notable hip hop contributions early on that kind of garnered you some of your acclaim. How did you end up on Backseat Freestyle? Good Kid, Mad City. How did you get that placement?
That was just, being locked in with the people from Interscope through Polo. The guy who signed Kendrick was my homeboy Manny. I met Manny Smith when he was an intern. He was interning, running around getting food and stuff for people. Years go by, this is 06 when I met Manny. By 2011, he had signed Kendrick, you know what I mean? And he moved up the ranks and this shit. So he just linked us up. I mean, I met Kendrick at like a XXL show in New York on some random wave, like probably like 09 or something like that. And we was cooled in, finally tapped in, and he just said he wanted to work. So we actually went to Vegas before Backseat Freestyle was made. We went to Vegas and we cooked up a couple records that never seen the light of day. Like this is us actually in the studio. It's funny how that always happened, but we was in the studio. None of those records became anything. He was about to go on a tour, so he pulled up. He was like, "Yo, I like the ideas we did. I really want you on the album, so just shoot me a couple more ideas. I'm gonna pull up." Actually, he pulled up. Him and Dave Free, and we just went through beats. Backseat Freestyle, I think was like the first one, might have been, and he went crazy. Took the beat, went on tour, did his show. I think he was in Texas at the time. He was like, "Yo, I'm out here in Texas, but me and the homies going crazy. Like we got one, we got a joint." He sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this dude, he on some next level."
No, I mean, it was a moment to hear that beat. I think that was probably the beat that attracted people to that album when they heard it the most. And I think it was probably the first time people had gotten acquainted with you as the hip hop producer. So, I mean, obviously, the production track that you're most famously known for is Niggas in Paris. I have a question from a different perspective about the song, because when I talk about Stadium Flow, I think Stadium Flow, at least modern day, kind of starts with that record. And I say that because respectfully, since the record has come out, I hear it every time I step into a stadium, whether it's a baseball game, a basketball game, a football game. I could be at a convention, like my father's in Omega. At the Q's convention, no, that's playing there. And so I want to ask you, has that been a gift and a curse for you, making a record like of just that size and that stature, and obviously with the two major artists that are on it being some of our seminal rap and production figures ever?
At a point, I definitely looked at it as it was a little bit of a curse, because it's just like, but even on a personal level, when you go, when you make a record for your idols like that, and it connects in the way it does, and you go watch them perform it 10 plus times a night, anything after that kind of, to me, started to feel like a failure. Like, damn, like it's not on Niggas in Paris level. So I'm still young. I'm still 23, 24 when this is happening. So I'm just inside my head, and I'm like, damn, I'm really always trying to catch up to that record. That's why, with maturity, I was able to just get in a bag of being like, let me just make the most quality music I can. And that's what led to people like Nas, like Music, like Benny the Butcher, Dom Kennedy, all these people pulling up and being like, okay, well, you did this, but nigga, you got a whole album worth of beats just sitting right here. Like, I'm about to do an album over your beats. It's really that simple, you know what I mean? So I stopped chasing that and just start focusing completely on the music, you know what I mean?
Well, that was the next thing that I was about to ask you. It seems like from that moment, you have kind of to quote like the poet Robert Frost, you've taken like the road not taken since that moment, and have maybe taking on artists who have more of an underdog. I wouldn't even call it underground, but underdog status, like with you and Dom Kennedy. Like, how did you and Dom end up linking up?
Don, that's just been my dog for years. I produced on a couple of his albums before we even rapped together. You know what I mean? Produced on From the West Side with Love Part 1, and a couple other joints here and there. But he pulled up on me. I actually wanted to get him on a song around 2016, I would say. And he pulled up to the studio. He did the song I wanted him to do, but I also played him another song, and he was like, "This shit hard too. I'm gonna hop on this." Then he just was like, "Yo, I'm about to start pulling up on you." Kept pulling up, and we just started making these albums. We made about 4 or 5 projects so far.
You talked about the pressure and the gift and the curse that making a song, his Titanic, his Niggas in Paris could be. You just got done doing a 4-album run with an artist whose first album has probably been his gift and his curse. Did you see some commonalities in the way Illmatic is kind of held up on this grail for him, and how it's been conflicting for Nas, and how Niggas in Paris is kind of like, in a lot of ways for you, the same kind of thing? Did y'all ever have that conversation? Was that part of the meeting of the minds? And how did you all come together?
Nah, it's crazy because I never thought about it like that. And that's why I watch y'all show, because y'all bring up interesting points that make you be like, that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think it's more so like the fans, like, as far as Nas goes, I think it's the fans holding him to like like you want just him to make the same album for 20 years straight, you know what I mean? Like we're human beings. Like people just look at it as this boxed in thing. He's an artist, he's a manicured thing. Like when he's a human, bro, he's like evolving, growing, learning new things. And he came out as with genius level lyrics, you know what I mean? So he been having this just higher level rhetoric, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think it's more so like the fans. I don't think Nas really care about that shit. He just like having fun making music.
So take me into KD1 a little bit and how that came together. Now, I was told, you know, a long time ago that the pairing between y'all was really just supposed to be a record or two being done, and it just kind of ended up becoming a thing. Tell us about how, you know, tell me how y'all became, you know, the new gang star, quote unquote.
Word. Yeah. I mean, bro, shit. I really linked with Nas initially through Frank Ocean. I've been cool with Frank Ocean. I think his first placement, Frank Ocean's first placement ever was on one of my beats. Or a beat me and the homie Chasing Cash had made, and we gave it to Brandy, and he wrote the song for Brandy. So I ended up, right after Niggas in Paris came out, I did a session with Frank Ocean, and we just did some hook ideas, and he did a couple verses, whatever. But one of them, he was like, yo, I'm gonna take this idea to Nas. I got a session with Nas, you know what I mean? And then he ended up hitting me like, yo, Nas is rocking with the idea. He laid something to it. So it was a song that was supposed to come out called No Such Thing as White Jesus. That was Nas featuring Frank Ocean, produced by me. Long story short, so I think that he wanted to use it. I had lost the files with Frank's vocals on there, you know what I mean? So it became this whole internet thing where people, you know, Nas fans was hitting me up like mad about it or whatever, but you know, it was what it was. He ended up using that record on Lost Tapes 2, which was, what was it called? Royalty. He changed the name to Royalty. So that was originally No Such Thing as White Jesus featuring Frank Ocean. Some of those lyrics are still Frank Ocean's on there, but they put the girl on it singing. So fast forward 2020, I got a homeboy from Rialto in the IE named Double. He was working with Nas. I saw him post Nas in the studio working with one of the homies, a producer homie. And I was like, I just hit my boy, just, you know, that's really my dog. I known him since I was like 14, 15. We pop our shit, talk shit. I'm like, bro, if you don't get Nas over here, nigga, you tripping. You gotta have him pull up. I got some joints for him. And next day, he was like, man, we in there. Nas pulled up, bro, and we worked on, I had ideas. He wanted to do a Valentine's Day album. He wanted to do an EP with just like some kind of love song. So that's why you hear Replace Me. That's why you hear All Bad with Anderson .Paak, because the first song we cut ever was All Bad with Anderson .Paak, because I'm thinking Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? Some lovey shit. So from there, we laid that. I had the Replace Me hook with Don on it already. Nas was like, man, I'm pulling back up. He was like, bro, I'm about to be pulling up damn near every day. I thought he was just capping, and 3 years later, you know what I mean? He really pull up all the time. It's just like crazy. But yeah, that was like January of 2020, pre-pandemic and all that. We wasn't even thinking about the pandemic when he came up with King's Disease. He just started working. We started doing other joints. And once he got out the mindset of the Valentine's Day thing, I feel like the first record he did was either Blue Benz or King's Disease Intro. And that's when it just like hit the fan, like, oh, we off and running now. Like, I don't got to be stuck in a box. Because for me, I feel like I'm the most least technical producer ever, bro. Like, I just literally go off the feeling. If I'm chopping a sample, if I'm pulling something off YouTube, if I'm on the keys, on the drums, however I can get it done, I'm going to get it done. Like, it's no technicalities for me. You know, people ask me like, yo, what's this scale? What's this? I don't know, bro. I just make beats. Like, I just make the illest shit that feels right to me. So, you know, it's just crazy.
What's your favorite beat off of each one of the Nas's projects? Like, what's the one that you look at as a producer from each one of the projects and be like, that's me, like that's hit. Like, I'll take that beat and take that sound anywhere and win with that sound.
Yeah, I mean, you could go Blue Benz or Spicy off the first one. I feel like Spicy is like
I think it's Spicy
joint. You know what I mean? That's the joint that could work in a lot of spaces. And KD2, I'm gonna say Store Run. That's, you know what I mean? That's some real soul. Magic. I gotta go Speechless or Meet Joe Black. You know what I mean? And then KD3, I'm going Legit, Thun, Mike and Quincy. Oh no, it's the fuel there.
So you guys picked up steam in my estimation. I feel like each release was better than the previous release that came before it, as in like the chemistry increased, has you all's time together increased. Is that something that you all noticed and talk about? Like, man, like these songs are becoming like, you know, more and more epic the more and more that we're doing them. You know, was that part of the synergy between you two with this KD and plus one with Magic?
1,000,000%. We always really trying to just impress each other. Like when he walked in, I want to have something that's going to give him that genuine face that's like, oh my God, what is this? Same with him with the bars, you know what I mean? He try to lock in and do that, but it's just wild, bro. Like seeing the fans though, seeing the fans and seeing the people talk about it, like even finding y'all page, like I found y'all from the first KD, you know what I mean? And just watching y'all, you know, I'm from a different era, a little younger, from the West Coast. So I didn't hear all the B-sides and all the intros and all the shit that Nas had ever done, you know what I mean? Because that's not what my West Coast family was playing. So watching y'all talk about certain records like Take It in Blood or shit, like I started learning about that shit watching y'all, seeing it on Twitter, seeing it in different places where it's like, damn, okay, I need to go study this stuff and download some of this DNA to put it with what I do.
Well, that's what it sounds like you did so wonderfully, and that's part of what drew according to hip hop to you guys and this run. I mean, I've always been of the ilk and train of thought that media wise, he's gotten a bad rap, but I always felt like beat wise, he got a bad rap. And I feel like working with you put a lot of that to bed because I feel like you gave him an updated formula, but you gave him stadium flow. Like Spicy, like you're right about Spicy. Like I remember where I was the first time that I heard Spicy. Like I have a cousin who lives in LA that works in Hollywood. And like he was at my house here in Atlanta and we heard Spicy. We're running up and down the hallway of my house like we're 10 years old again. Like you hear this? They like because the word, and this is exactly what we said, it's like, man, he was like, I don't believe Nas made a banger like this. I was like, he don't make bangers like this. But that was like where, you know, I as a fan started to realize it's like, no, he needs to keep on doing this with Hit. And so when y'all are coming back around with KD2, and you know I got to ask you about it because Death Row East is the first song that you all recorded, correct?
Right.
How did that whole concept and idea even come about? And like, do you feel like that set the tone for like stylistically what y'all were about to do on that run? Because I love that record. I love that record stadium wise for him, the way I love Spicy, 4016.
Yeah, nah, just that tempo crazy. But I mean, you know, Nas, he just he's a thinker, man. So he come in like, and he also watches what's going on. There was a lot of talk about just different people telling that story and giving their perspective on it. When he coming through telling me like, bro, this dude is wrong. He not saying it right. Like I just need to address it, and I need something that's going to keep the bounce and keep people engaged and listening to it. So I just met him in the middle. It literally, and that's the beautiful thing about this. Like, Nas ain't just coming to get a beat and, oh, this got to be the biggest, best beat of all time. It got to put me on the top of the charts. He don't think like that. He's like, he allowed me to build out Death Row East. It's so many sounds and layers, violins, bells and whistles, bass lines, different, you know what I mean? I built that out and he gave me the opportunity to max out on my ideas. And that's why I feel so empowered with this, because he allows me to just get really inside my mind as well, versus being like, give me 5 beats, I'm gonna take these over here to another studio, do what I do, send me the files. Like Nas is like leaving the vocals with me. Like he come to my studio every day. I got the vocals. I'm listening to these songs. Nas don't ever leave with the songs. He don't never, he does them and he come back. Whenever he come back, he hear them again. He don't, you know what I mean? He don't take them and study them. I'm studying them motherfuckers. So I'm hearing different pockets. I'm hearing different ways to, oh, on this part, we should take the bass line out. We should take the drums out on this part. We should do this, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to compliment his vocal as best as I can.
The only time I've heard of a producer doing that for an artist on that level, I believe that the RZA did that for his cousin the GZA with Liquid Swords a lot. Like with the way that you just described those sessions is a lot how Liquid Swords was built, where the GZA really wasn't even hearing his records till RZA was done with the records, you know. And so that's beautiful that you're in tune with his sound and his style like that. That speaks to you kind of like being in unison with him in terms of like stylistically kind of having an understanding of where he's trying to go. Now, in between this, you've kind of bookended this by doing a couple of Benny projects too. Now you have Burden of Proof, and I believe you all have a joint that you all are wrapping up or has just recently gotten wrapped up, right? So talk to us a little bit about,
yeah.
Talk
Benny,
to us about your projects with Benny.
Top tier lyricist, man. Just a cool, solid dude, period. But I don't know. It's certain people, man, I just catch that vibe with. Like I didn't even know this dude. I just saw that he was in LA. I started following him, being a fan of the songs and the freestyles, the albums and all that. But hit him up. I'm like, bro, you in LA. If you got time, pull up to the studio. It was that simple. He pulled up. Did some joints. He was like, bro, I'm gonna keep rocking with you. By the time we looked up, we had 10 records, and his team pulled up. They like, we putting this shit out. You know what I mean? It's like I explained earlier in the convo, like that's how it usually happens. Like I'm just in that mode, period. And when they come through and I'll start to get a couple records with artists, it puts me in that zone to be like, okay, when I'm making beats, boom, I'm just putting it in that zone already. So I damn near know, like, oh, Nas gonna react to this. Benny gonna react to this, Music Soul Child gonna react to this, Big Sean gonna react to this because I'm just zoned in with them already.
Now, Benny's, kind of known more infamously, like, the Griselda crew and BSF and all those guys are kind of known for bringing that classic hip hop, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, early Nas, early Big feel back to rap. But a lot from following, your work with Nas, talking to Chris the Glove Taylor, another all-time great Cali producer, and even talking to some of the team behind the scenes has just, started to change some of my perspective. And I'm like, well, Benny's got the George Bondo record with Westside, and they got Brutus and 97 Hove and Rubber Bands and Weight. And so I look at, him working with you as an opportunity, is like expanding his horizons. Do you have some stadium flow in store for Benny?
Oh yeah, for sure. We got some. It's just a joint he just did. I'm like, damn, I never heard you do a hook like that. I ain't never heard you in that pocket. Like I feel like it's a real modern pocket, but it's still hard. It's still gutter, but it's also something that's like sensible.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like I'm one of those heads that now that I'm older, I feel responsible for not letting a group like Mobb Deep grow. You feel me? And I don't want that same fate to befall Griselda. And so I've been having to kind of pivot off some of my podcast and traditional rap aesthetics in terms of what I like to hear and understand that it's like, well, it can happen one way, which is the right way by working with you, or it can be something that the industry forces upon them or forces them out, And so I like the fact that you're kind of taking this on now. Tell me about Surf Club and where that whole idea and name comes from. Is that the Pasadena in you?
Yo, it's funny, bro. You said you used to be at Ontario Mills. Yep. We started Surf Club at Ontario Mills. I was 17 years old.
Wow.
It was me and the homies. We was young kids and teenagers. We went and bought these, we was just always clicked up, but we went and bought these sweaters from Hollister at the Ontario Mills. And the sweater I bought said Surf Club on it. I was like, yo, that's a hard name. Let's run with that shit for the click. Everybody was in agreement, and we just ran with it, bro. And down the line, just some of the people, I met my homeboy Chili Chill being in the IE, a couple other homies, but Chill started saying Surf Club in the music, and that's when it clicked, like, oh, this shit need to be bigger than just us hanging out, being the homies. Like, this is like, we could take this brand to another level. And it's literally been around all them years, man. And my boy Chasing Cash, like he played a big part. He from New Orleans, but when I met him, he flew out here from New Orleans, and he was rocking with Sean Kingston. So he was living with Sean Kingston, producing for him, helping him with different stuff. I drove from Fontana at my mom's crib to pick up Chase because we met on MySpace. He was like, bro, let's make some beats. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna come scoop you. I drove all the way to Hollywood to I forgot what them apartments is called, the Oakwoods, where everybody used to stay. picked him up, drove right back to the IE. We probably made 10 beats within, you know, a couple hours of knowing each other. And I was like, we got to keep locking in. So we had met Drake on MySpace like '06. We started getting cool with him. Drake started actually repping Surf Club. Like he was from Surf Club for a brief period. Like if you go listen to his Millie freestyle, he said, I'm a Surf Club general. And if you listen to 9 a.m. in Dallas, he said, Chasing Cash, that's my brother from the Surf Club. Like, you know what I mean? So we always had a fly thing about what we do, like that made people like a Drake want to be a part of it. But obviously his story is his story, our story is our story. Everybody go and make it happen how they can. And it's just like now I'm just bringing it all the way back into fruition. For a minute, you know, I had my own label called HS87 through Interscope. Then I did another deal with Rock Nation, label side. And it just was kind of me figuring myself out, trying to produce for too many artists at once. As far as my own artists, other artists in the game, I'm trying to stay hot. I'm just too much for a 25, 26-year-old without the right infrastructure. You know what I mean? And so now I'm just wrapping it back around, bro, and I've been feeling great. Like the songs you heard that's already on the playlist for my album, Surf or Drown, that's been like the start of me. Okay, I'm about to be just consistently dropping my own music, whether it's singles, albums. This is just volume 1 of Surf or Drown. I'm coming with volume 2 ASAP, more features, just keeping it fly, just some wavy music.
Let me ask you something, Hit. Are you more of a rapper at heart? Like
Man,
in your heart of hearts?
I got a lot of passion for words. I'm a Gemini, you know what I mean? Like I got a real passion for it. I was rapping first. I was rapping at 13.
I can tell.
At 15 is when I started messing with the beats. And that shit, honestly, to be honest, is crazy, bro. It's always just been fun for me, the beat shit. You know what I mean? Just literally, that's what it's been. But I've been dropping my own albums, tapes, songs just over the years. And you know, it's just all kind of lining up at this point.
No, I've been listening to you. It's I kind of want to go to some of your newer records right quick. Obviously, Slipping Into Darkness with Alchemist has caused quite a stir for a variety of reasons. First of all, the record is stellar. And we can get to all the talk and the rhetoric of the record, but the record itself and the pairing of you guys is stellar, because I said to myself after listening to the song a couple times, it's like, I could deal with a whole project of that with no problem, you know?
Wow, that's hard.
A whole project of that would be like really, really nice from you guys. But you rapped on this record and kind of took over this record the way an MC does, not the way a producer does. Like, there are producers who rap and rap very well. You've dealt with some of them, obviously, but it's rare that they take shots at other guys, whether thinly veiled or not. But also, I'm talking about stylistically, the way that you toggled down the record and kept going. I was like, this is some rap shit that Hit's doing, like on some MC and like type of thing. And so I just want you to talk about, you know, perspective for the record, where this hit maker thing is coming from, and how and why, and what has seen as some thinly veiled shots at some of your contemporaries like Metro Boomin, who we have waxed poetic about on According to Hip Hop as well.
I mean, that's the thing. As far as Metro, Southside, and Mustard, I actually have a lot of respect for them. I wanted to use that record to create separation for myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that they cannot do boom bap or chop soul, or they can't do these sounds. I'm saying I haven't heard it. You know what I mean? And as far as me, if you go look me up, I'm talking about from Beyonce, you know, pop records to Benny the Butcher to, you know what I mean, Justin Bieber to again whoever. It's just like my sound is out there, and that was just a way to connect what I do. Just like I was saying earlier, like it's been hard for people to connect how many records I've really, really done. You know what I mean? Like I feel like at times I've felt like my brand should be a lot bigger, that a lot more people should know about me. Musical people, I feel like most of the time know about me, but the average person might not have heard the name, you know what I mean? So this was just the opportunity to bring it all in. But as far as the other dude, I'm calling him Young Bird. That's his name to me, you know what I mean? Like, as far as that, it is what it is. Like, I don't know why he stuck his neck out on Hot 97. Like, he just, you know, but I've been hearing, you know, I think is because he kind of stole my name. Like how you went Young Berg the hit maker, damn you on hit, you know what I mean? It's just like
Not with the ether bars. Yo, Hit.
come on.
I have to be totally honest with you and pull my own card as a head. I didn't know that Hitmaker was Young Berg until Mike pulled my card about it when I was pulling up Hitmaker's production credits. I was like, that's Berg?
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that he had switched. Like I knew who Hitmaker was in terms of the records that he had done, but I didn't know that was Berg until Mike let me know on the show the other day. He did that. That's unfortunate. Here's what I do want to say about what you kind of said with the Mustard Southside of Metro comment. Well, I went on our show and I called you one of the 10 greatest hip hop producers ever because it was very clear to me after looking at your. Yeah, well, it was clear to me after looking at your catalog. Well, I mean, it's earned because, well, most of the guys that we revere has producers. All time in this genre, they have about 1, 2, or 3 classics. And they have a bevy of records that they've contributed to other artists in the sphere that help give us that moniker, that title. Well, you check all of those boxes now for me. I mean, truthfully, I think the only thing that you probably were missing were some classic albums to be like, yo, no, Hit produced that classic. The same way it's like Primo's got like, no, Primo produced Moment of Truth. Dre's got The Chronic and Doggy Style. It's like with KD 2 and Magic in 3, I was like, well, go look at those 3 records. Show me the producer that has 3 records like that and the hit catalog and the collaborations. Like you've done stuff like, I believe Sorry for Beyonce is yours, right?
Mm-hmm. And Flawless and Feeling Myself with Nicki and Beyonce, Bow Down,
right?
Bunch of joints.
So if somebody like Timbaland or the Neptunes has this type of catalog, you know what we call them? We call them one of the greatest of all time. You have a catalog to me, like top to bottom, that it's like, well, I have to put you ahead of people like the Neptunes and Timbaland because they don't have any hip hop classics, but you have hit records with everybody just like them, including hits like One Train, and you got Niggas in Paris, Backseat Freestyle. So, I feel totally comfortable because what I've argued about on your behalf is like, and I've said this and I'll let you listen, it's like, well, I love Dilla. Dilla was probably the best beat maker of his time. Dilla doesn't, I mean, the best album Dilla ever executive produced was Fantastic Voyage Volume 2, in my opinion. That's borderline classic, and that's the only thing he has like that. Like, when I was asking what Metro's classic was, people were like, Dirty Sprite. I'm like, Dirty Sprite's not better than KD2, Magic, or KD3. Now show me the other records that he has. I mean, I'm just being honest about it. So when I'm saying, I've said this, I was like, well, Metro might make a better beat than Hit, like beat for beat. If you just want a beat, I was like, but when in hip hop did we ever judge it by a beat? It's usually the collection of the work. And so I want to just give you your due for actually being somebody in a time where it seems like the single and the hit record is always the thing. You've actually taken on the task of making quality projects for artists. And artists, quite frankly, who don't have the followings that they used to, like music. And so I kind of want you to talk about your pairing with music as well.
Mm-hmm. No, that's crazy because that came through him being a fan of what me and Nas was doing. You know what I mean? He saw it, he dialed in on it. He sent me a DM and literally said that, like, bro, I love what you and Nas doing. I'm coming to LA. Let's tap in. And once again, like, he came through, got a batch of beats, did some ill songs, came back again, did some more ill songs. And before you knew it, we had something that felt like a body of work. You know what I mean? And once again, this is just the first verse. This the first album. We dropping more albums. We're gonna keep getting more in sync with it. We're gonna keep getting more locked in. That's just like what I'm on.
Okay. I want to talk about a couple of these records that I heard last night. I want to talk about 2 Certified with Avelino. How'd you come across Avelino? That's UK.
Yeah, exactly. So Avelino was at the studio with my engineer, David Kim, who mixed KD 1, 2, 3, and Magic. He was mixing Avelino's new album. Brought him in just to meet me, say what's up. This the homie from the UK. And he played me some of his album. I played him a couple joints. And then right before he left out, I just had the hook on 2 Certified. Played him the hook and the beat. He was like, yo, bro, let me get on this. He got on it. He really did like 4 verses to it. And I just had to pick them 2 to put in there. Because that's a rapping motherfucker. He got verbiage. He got words. He got stuff to say, bars. So it's like, he did the verses. I chopped it down and made it what it is. You know what I mean? And it's just some fun shit. I feel like it's a perfect blend of West Coast in the drill, in some UK shit. Like that's like my whole thing with the surfer drown. It's like a lot of it's like a new genre. Like I call it West Coast drill, but you know what I mean?
I wanted to actually talk to you about the sounds of these records because it's like it's very futuristic. It doesn't have necessarily a lane. I like that West Coast drill would be the best way to put it because that's what I'm saying. Like I'm hearing that quick bounce, but I'm hearing that drill too that you're doing. Avelino killed 2 certified. Like
and bodied it.
He had me Wikipediaing him at 2 a.m. I was like, who is this dude? He's Congolese and Angolan. I'm like, man, I was like an African and came to the UK and tore shit up like this and Sade. All right. No, crazy. It's like that. I was super impressed with him, and that was a nice pull by you. Corsa. Hold on. No, I want to talk. Yeah, Corsa. Yeah.
Corsa. Man,
how long have you been sitting on that record?
Corsa actually dropped in June, and that was the kickoff for, just this run that I'm on as far as dropping my own music more consistently than I was at a point to lead it up to Surf or Drown. And again, Dom, that's just my dog. I did the beat, and it's funny because when I did it, I sent it to another UK artist, this dude Fredo. He never replied. So as I was doing the beat, I came up like we don't jump click to click. I kept just hearing that in my head. I was like, man, I should lay that. I laid that part, and then Don pulled up like the next day, or maybe it might have been the same day I made the beat. He was like, bro, play that shit back, and he was like, loop a verse for me. He just did his verse and just went crazy. And then what really made me be like, okay, I'm about to put this shit out. I had like a launch party for Surf Club Def Jam. I got a Def Jam partnership for Surf Club. So I had a launch party, and the DJ played Corsa, and we just kept running it back, and just the reaction that I got from real people outside, I was like, nah, this shit is serious, you know what I mean? So I ended up putting that out, and I just been, you know what I mean? That was the lead up for Surf or Drown, the lead off.
Now, when is Surf or Drown dropping? It's dropping next Friday? Is that next Friday that it's dropping?
24th, March 24th. Yes, sir.
March 24th. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. No. I'm excited. You had me up late, like trying to get into your zone. I want to talk to you about a few more like just West Coast topics as well, if that's okay. If you got a little bit more time. I don't know what your time is looking like today. You got a little bit more time for me?
Yeah, yeah.
My cohort and co-host and owner of According to Hip Hop, Mike B, has been making the claim for 3 years. Yeah. Shout out to Mike B. We're pulling up today to talk about this interview.
That's what's up, man.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna promote you properly, brother. He's often said that Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E is the greatest trio that rap has ever seen. What would you say to that sentiment as somebody that's a California native?
That's a good way to put it, man. You got the lyricism, you got the street side, and you got the just what you need as far as to put all that shit together. You know what I mean? And Drake. So I mean, yeah, that's definitely that's the top. That's one in the top sector of what we do.
Well, you were just talking about how, your first real introduction was the NWA second album, Niggas for Life. And I'm thinking like, oh, well, I'm going to ask Kid about Mike's 3 the hard way and see how he feels as a Cali native about that. And I think that's very, very big, because oftentimes I don't think people understand how groundbreaking and how game shifting them opening up that lane for all of Southern California, like really did for hip hop in general.
Right.
Now you've been part of some controversial diss records that you're not rapping on, like The Game's The Black Slim Shady.
Yeah. Now you know what? That record, bro, I did the first half of that record, and It was started off as him paying homage. Like I'm just like thinking, oh, he rapping like Eminem. Then I come to the studio one day, he added the whole end part with the diss. So I'm like, now I'm just throwing in the middle. But my record was more of him paying homage and just playing around with the flows and shit that Slim Shady.
I mean, so when things like that happen, do you have to reach out to people? Because I know you have a relationship, obviously, with Interscope from the past. Are you reaching out to Dre and M and like hey guys, like that ain't what I mean, or how does that work? Or do you kind of wait for people to kind of hit you up and see about that? Because when a diss record comes out, the first thing we do as heads after we hear the record is be like, who made the beat?
Yeah.
And so that's how you do get thrown into it. Like Ron Brown's is only known because he made Ether, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
No, I mean, I didn't reach out to nobody, but I mean, I know, M know that it's love on my side. Like we just had the EPMD too, you know what I mean? It's just like like I said, my record wasn't the diss. You know what I mean? That's all I can say to that.
No. Thank you for clarifying that too. Like, you know what I mean? I think people like kind of need to know stuff like that. Is there anything that you would have changed about your run with Nas, like song-wise? Is there a record that you like, nah, we shouldn't have put that record on the album? Is there a song where you're just like, nah, we should have kept that? Is there something that you just feel like didn't go in its proper place or you'd like to do over? Like, is there a record that you'd be like, man, we should do that record over? We would knock it out the park now if we did it again.
Nah, you know what it is like the fact that we still working, bro. I still feel like I'm still in the zone from the first album. Like I still feel like we still working on the first album. You know what I mean? Like even though we dropped music, it's the development in it. Like we're genuinely developing as musicians, and just the chemistry is getting bigger, it's getting broader, it's getting just deeper. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like we still got time to make whatever record that we can make.
I mean, you know that like in about 3 short years, you and him have amassed a lot of like our greatest groups like catalogs, not just in terms of quality, but in terms of volume. Y'all have already made about 50 records together that we've only been introduced to. Is probably double that on the other side. So it's like, I mean, do y'all feel a sense of accomplishment for what you just did? I mean, I was just at the Garden and I saw you come out in the Michael Jackson pants, brother. I saw you in the Thriller pants.
Hey, man. It was the big stage, man.
No. You performing Mike and Quincy, you know what I mean? You would probably be you the young one, so you might, you know what I mean, put on the Thriller pants. I don't know. I totally get it. But was there any sort of like, like look at what we just did though? Like have you and him had that moment? Okay.
Honestly, we had that moment a lot. You know what I mean? It's like it's just because we excited about what's going on, we excited about the music. We excited about the reception of the music, you know what I mean? So for me to go to the Garden and see 21,000 sold out and he performed 20 of my songs, like, you know what I mean? I've been in MSG and Niggas in Paris played 10 times. I've been in different places where people perform. Beyonce performed my shit in the stadium, all this stuff. But to see 20 of my joints, that's just like, as a producer, it's like, damn, I'm really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got to keep doing that.
I think for me, when I was in the Garden, was when I realized and I still think he's the greatest MC of all time, and I felt that way before y'all's run. But to me, I don't think that Madison Square Garden, the show, is the same for him without your records. And I think that is your contribution to his catalog more than anything else. You filled and rounded his catalog out. Like I went on According to Hip Hop and I said, well, if Hit doesn't exist, songs like Nas the Don get played in Madison Square Garden on that night. You know, he don't need that record now because of you. You know what I'm saying? Not to take anything or not to sit that record down. It's a great record. That's some of his earlier stadium flow. But because he has you and because he has a Spicy, a YKTV, a Store Run, a Death Row East, because he has these records, he can look at that record and be like, that's one of those records that if this run doesn't happen, I almost feel like he has to play it in the Garden. You know? And so I think you really just gave his catalog the full scope that it deserves, because in order for it to have the full scope that it deserves, it needs to bang live. And I think you helped fill that out. Yeah. So, and I didn't even realize how much that contribution mattered until it was when I heard 30 hit. You went crazy on 30. The way 30 rang out in MSG.
That was made for an arena. That's like gladiator levels, you know what I mean? Stadium, you know what I mean? Shit like that.
No, it was epic. I thought it was the loudest ring out in the Garden of the, I think like 33 records he did. I think that was the one that like probably hit me the most. But crazy. I want to briefly talk about the legit sample too, Hit. That's one of the greatest sample pulls of the modern day era. And I've told people it's one of the great sample pulls because it was right in front of all of us. How did you, what made you, we've all watched that movie. We all in Set Back Faded. I done been in the yo watching the movie before, sitting back, and we all sing the part and laugh and all that and joke. And so it's part of our Black lexicon and culture. When did that light bulb go off? Like right there, taking that.
I mean, always being a fan of the movie, like you said, watching it all the time. I get together with the family, they putting it on like holidays and shit like that. And man, like I just was watching a movie and I'm like, yo, let me stop. Cause what I do is when I hear a sample, I usually go on a website to see who sampled the shit before. And I was like, yo, nobody got this off.
Nobody.
Like, what? I'm
Nobody.
thinking I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what? Nah, we chopped it up, pulled it right off pulled the audio off and just built on it, man. And when Nas heard it, he went crazy.
I went crazy the first time I heard it. I was like, oh, I was like, genius. Like, that's when I was like, his production status is officially at genius level to me because for me, it's like, I believe in the simple stupid. When you can take what we all see and you can think and put it in the format and make us realize that we missed it, that's what genius is to me musically. How about this? Production-wise, as far as Nas records go, the last time that I felt like somebody had a genius move on one of his records is when I heard Made You Look. Where I was like, oh, you took the Apache break loop and flipped it. It's like, nice. That's how I feel about Legit. And it is my favorite song on KD3.
Hard. That's what's up, man.
Yeah. No. I love Legit. So I don't have too much more for you, Hit, but I do have to cover like one more thing that's been kind of coming up. You have a relationship with Quentin Miller as well.
Right.
And there's been a lot of what has been felt like not like a lot of vagueness in his responses to his contributions to The Pressure, which is the intro off of KD2. Can you clarify any of this for the audience so we can have some clarity about it? I mean,
I'm gonna just say like Quentin, that's my dog too. Like that nigga's super talented, but can't nobody write for Nas, bro. You know what I mean? Can't nobody write for Nas. I would just leave it at that, man. Like Nas he's a supreme, like, you know what I mean? Like he's very custom and very locked into what he does.
I mean, I hate the fact that we're even having to have this conversation about the guy who I feel is our best lyricist and poet. But for some people, especially in the media, they seem to think.
Well, I understand that because I'm looking at it like this. Like even with my own personal situation that's going on right now, to me, it's absurd, preposterous, it's ridiculous that people would even think to compare me to a hit maker. You know what I mean? Like that's how I look at that. Like, bro, like it's melodies on that record. It's you know what I mean? It's just like I don't want to get into the full back of what it is we got going on the creative side, but ain't nobody writing for Nas, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. It's just the fact that that's even questioned. And it's like, it's almost like, and this is why I wanted to clear it up. It almost seems like, well, I've been in studios before. I know how some of the behind the scenes process works. Talking to the glove, the team effort is involved. Nobody seems to knock these team efforts or people's small contributions unless it's Nas. It's almost like he has to be in the room with just you. And if it's not that, it's not what it should be. And that's what I like to call some of that Illmatic effect, where it's like, it's like, no, like you got to give him the same credence you give everybody else, No, so I would just wanted to thank you for clearing.
No, for sure. I mean, you got motherfucking even on like the movie the for the Black album, like you got man, I gotta get my soul right. Like Ye is feeding that to Hove, and it's not like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like if niggas in the room vibing and catching the vibe, then you know what I mean, that's what it is. But like niggas can't write for Nas, you know what I mean? It's just like it's not possible.
It's too much intricacies to his life and to the things that he's personally seen. It's not like he's giving you a random view. It's a specified viewpoint from a specified person. Absolutely. I think you've answered all of my questions, Hit. I just want to thank you for blasting us off like this properly, always shouting us out, always retweeting us. You have our support. I would love to kick it with you when you come to the A-Fam. You just let me know, we'll be there.
Nah, shit. You let me know if you come to LA too, pull up to the stool, man.
Oh, no. That's happening. We're going to be going back to Cali soon. I miss Cali. I miss the IE. I had a great time when I lived in Cali. It was the most fun I had in my life. When you were probably about 17 and starting the surf club, I was 23 and pulling up to Ontario Mills all the time, but I was around the neighborhood. Yeah.
Correct. That's what's up, man. Now we definitely gonna tap in. I appreciate y'all showing love and always holding it down and keeping it 100. You know what I mean? Like I love that.
No. We love what you're providing for the culture right now. We love that you're working with, our greatest artists. We love, the work that you put in with Benny. We love the Kanye J work. The ladies. The women in my family love the Beyonce and Nicki work. Like you've covered the spectrum, and I'm totally comfortable and will fight for you about your top 10 all-time producer status, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Respect.
salute to you, brother, and I appreciate you for coming out and sharing this time with us.
On top, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, man, let's get it. Take care, brother.
All right.